Hello and welcome back to a brand new video. I'm Tony King and I'm a photographer, and here I'm starting what is going to be a new series on my channel, which is going to be like a month in review. I'm going to choose 5 to 7 images from each month of the year and basically go over the strengths and weaknesses of those and how it aligns with, the goals I'm trying to reach. And this is a way to track my growth, put myself out there a little bit more, and to see where I want to improve and where I'm doing well. Maybe just revisit some strengths and weaknesses. So since I'm starting this now, I'm gonna have to catch up, but eventually once I catch up, I'm sure it'll come to a point where, it's December and the first week of January, I put out a video talking about the images in December. Maybe I won't do it like that. I think there is, recency bias is a thing. So perhaps going back all the way several months is a good choice. So I keep pretty good track of all the images I take. Well, more so like the photo albums I post on my channel. If you don't know about that, you must be new here. I post a lot of photo albums, which are just montages of the pictures I take when I go out on a photo walk, which is the main thing that I do. And I keep track of when I post them, how many images are in each. I wanted to start in the month of May, which I think was a decently strong month for me as a photographer. Strengths and weaknesses there that figured I'd talk about. So in May, I actually posted 9 photo albums, which pretty solid haul, almost 2 a week, which I think is pretty good. I aim to have at least 4 in a month. And so far this year, January was the only one where I only did 4. And so I've at least beat that for every other month this year. At this point in the year, as of recording this, I've already made 77. That's a decent amount of photo walks, which is something that I'm definitely striving for. So for the month of May, I picked out 7 images, and I wanted to start on this image here of this car kind of parked near a construction zone in downtown Atlanta. I really like this image. I think it captures the grunge and urban style of the city that you get in certain areas. In another video when I talked about aspect ratios and cropping to 2:1, which is something we'll get to in another video, because I do think that is one of the strengths that I've started to employ in my images as of late. I did crop this to 2:1, but when I originally posted it, it was 4:3 as is now. So this is as shot with just a little bit of color grading. I shot this on an EPL3 with, I believe it was my 50mm f/0.95. I like the leading lines of this image where you can see kind of the car leading us down the road to the bright orange kind of barrier, which I really like. There's graffiti on there, which adds a little bit of texture, which is also just amplified by the fence that it's next to. I like how the fence is not a perfectly straight line going down, but it still gives us a sense of like slight Z-axis kind of going from further away in the left side of the image to the closer to us in the right side of the image. The car is not some fancy Rolls Royce. It is some kind of broken down car. It looked broken down from my memory. You can tell it has a spare tire in the back. And with the overgrown greenery around kind of the side of the road, it feels like we've been here for a while. It feels like we're kind of stuck, construction zone that's overgrown. Maybe they really got to, put the work in. Things that are kind of falling apart, but there's still life here. These are kind of the elements that I like from this image. I like the rich colors. To me, they come across that way. And yeah, overall, very satisfied with this image. Next up is this wildlife image of 2 dragonflies. I don't know if this is mating or just hanging out, but that was a very fascinating kind of moment to capture that I hadn't really seen that much of before. And I shot this on my GH5 with a 135mm Rokinon. It's not super telephoto. You can tell that I got pretty close. This is cropped like I was talking about before. And I really like how central these dragonflies are, and they're sort of a little soft, but clean enough that you can tell what they are. If you know anything about bugs, you probably know what they're doing. Insects, I don't know if they're bugs or insects or what the difference is there. But for me also, I really like how messy the rest of the frame is, how things are going in and out of focus, the reflections off the water. This was next to a lake. So on the left side, there's these big bokeh bubbles that are from reflecting off the water. I like how the long grass, especially on the left, but also on the right, is kind of feels broken and shattered in a way. And I think that just points our eye towards the central element of the dragonflies. So I was really happy with this composition. Yeah. Next up, from that very same day, this was actually my first time taking out that 135mm Rokinon, which is a cinema lens. And I got this shot of a heron. This was my most prosperous day of shooting herons with the camera, not with the gun, of course. I really like how you can see the bird's neck here, and how you can see it's wet, it's been hunting, and I'm about 10 to 15 feet away from it in this image, which is pretty remarkable to get that close. You don't usually get that, especially when they're standing in water. It is shallow water, but the whole lake is kind of shallow. And I really liked how the colors came across. I don't usually love how water comes across when you can see all the little ripples. I think it just kind of creates a mess. But here, I think it's uniform enough, and there's like kind of a gradient going across the image that the heron itself is like still visible. That's kind of the problem I have sometimes when I shoot something on the water. There's all the little lines from the water reflection. You can't really see the subject, but here you can, which I'm really happy with. You can see its neck. You can see really the anatomy of this bird. I was very happy with it. I think it has some character. This one went straight into the portfolio. This was like 2 shots later, different heron, but they were like right next to each other. I mean, I gotta say I was super, super lucky to actually get this image of the bird taking off in sharp, pretty solid sharp focus. It could be maybe marginally better, but can't complain at all. I've said it 100 times on the channel. I'm not really invested in this so perfect sharpness. So this is definitely good enough for me. And I mean, it was great to see in real life, but to have this moment captured is like pretty awesome. The water splashing out from the feet, the wingspan, the general shape of the bird is just pretty awesome. And I think actually what really sells it to be even better is that goose looking at it kind of like, where are you going? Which just gives us something to look at in the right hand side of the frame. Now this picture is cropped to 2x1, originally shot 4x3, and crops down to further isolate the story. And there was a bit of a mess on the lower side of the frame, kind of dirty like plants in the water and just kind of ugly, so I cropped that out. I wish the bird was a little bit more blue maybe. And in general, I do think the color quality of the GH5 just doesn't really quite match what I get on my Olympus. So that's the only negative from this picture, but again, it's straight into my portfolio. It's a rather awesome catch that I was lucky to get. Patience pays off. Very happy with this image. Yeah, I can't say much more about it. I hope you like it too. Moving on, I had an opportunity to shoot a concert in May up in Athens, Georgia, and this was the backup singer. I really like this portrait in black and white. I love how, it was so dark in there, and I'm shooting micro four thirds. If anybody tells you you can't shoot low light at all, micro four thirds, they're being silly. Just crank up the ISO a little bit, open your aperture, and get what you can get. It's definitely not a moment where you can't get anything. You can get some stuff, and I think that all the rest of the images that I'm going to go through in this series are going to be from that concert. And I just really liked how I captured the light on him, and the rim of his hat covering his eyes, I think, is very suggestive of kind of a sad song, kind of a intimate moment. And with the background being all black and all you can see is a microphone and him, it's very personal. Yeah, I was just very happy with the emotion that you can get from this image, and that I was able to get it on the camera. I was able to get it on. This is another black and white. This is the lead singer, John Nolan. Shout out if you know his music or check out his music. I like the emotion as he's singing this song as well. I think this is the main seller, aside from being, it's in good focus. I don't like shooting vertical, but I do when I shoot something for somebody, and I wasn't getting paid for this, but I did, send him the images, and he did get me into the show. Because I have a connection. I really like how I captured his face as he's singing kind of an emotional part of the song. It's still dark background, still kind of isolated, a little bit more with that light kind of right above his head, but I also think that's kind of nice. The only thing I would change is maybe I would try and crop out the little sliver of the light behind his head. That's the only thing I would change. And last but not least, for the month of May is a color photo from that same band. You can tell it's him. Here, what I like is the contextualization of the show with the lights in the background, the red, the blue, the white, and he is still kind of well colored, he has natural skin tone. You can see the guitar, you can see the red of the guitar, you can see him playing, you can see the emotion on his face when he's singing. He's in good focus, but it's a solo act with some backup vocals and musicians. So this is capturing his moment. Backlighting is great. Yeah, I can't really complain too much about this image. I might have cropped it down a little bit more, perhaps to get kind of the upper mess of like wiring that you can sort of see and maybe crop it down to where the lights just are. But other than that, I'm very satisfied with this image. And that is going to be my month of May review. Again, I wanted to start off the series with a strong month. I really like all those images. Not all of them are like portfolio worthy. Most of them made it to my website though, which is tonyeking.myportfolio.com. Yeah, not every image that you share or that you're happy with has to be like the best of the best. And it was good to kind of look back and see when did I go out and what was I able to get in the month of May. That's off of 9 photo walks there, or 9 photo albums. Sometimes I like will double up 2 photo albums per walk. Like at that show which I shot the guy who opened as well, and I separated them just, you know, to keep things in context. Very beneficial for me to look back. Hopefully my take and analysis of these images gives some insight to you guys on what I think and what you might look at in your own work. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and this style of video and this series. Let me know in the comments, and let me know in the comments what you thought about the images. I'll go ahead and show a couple honorable mentions as I close out the video. But with that being said, subscribe to the channel. I've been Tony King. I'll see you next time.